Hi everyone. So in this video, we will be solving the both coding question from TCS NQT which got asked in the first shift today morning in TCS NQT exam. Okay. Why we are solving the both question? One question I already solved before, but we are solving both question because in the last video some candidates told me that they asked we need to solve it using hash map, but that is not the case. Okay. You just need to pass the test cases. They mentioned that it is recommended to use hash map. It is not like you only need to use hash map. Why they have mentioned that? Because the input was complicated, so they just mentioned the notes so that you can think about how we can store the input, right? So it is not like that it is mandatory that you should use hash map, but in this video we will be using the hash map solution also. That was a little complicated. The first question is very easy. Before going with it, I just wanted to talk about the mock test series. So as you guys already know, the both questions of today were very easy. Aptitude questions were very similar to the live test which we have provided in our course. So there are a lot of live mock tests which you can see in our course. Okay, if you are purchasing the series, the discount code also you will be getting in the description. The main thing is the aptitude question which got asked today was very similar. So if you want, you can purchase the TCS NQT mock test series. The link will be in the description, and through that you can basically practice, okay, that what kind of paper you can expect in your actual exam. Let us start with the first question. So the first question says a gym offers membership for 3 months. It's the 5,000 cost, for 6 months is 7,000 cost, for 9 months is 12,000 cost, for 12 months is 15,000 cost. Okay, given an input number of months, return the total cost. If the input cannot be formed using this plan, print error. Okay, so basically what we need to do in this question, basically see, they are saying the costs are respective to the months which they have mentioned. The basic thing is if we can make the plan or not. Okay, so suppose if someone asks if I can a 15 months plan. Yes, I can make a 15 month plan. Okay, I can use the 3 month plan 5 times. Okay, 3 month plan 5 times I can use, right? If someone will ask me, can I make a 18 months plan? Yes, I have multiple ways. I can use 3 months plan 6 times, 6 months plan 3 times, 9 months plan 2 times, right? So what we need to check is basically if the number which they are providing in the input is the multiple of it or not. Okay, if it is a multiple of this, then definitely we can form a plan. If it is not a multiple of it, definitely we cannot form the plan. Okay, so very simple if else based question. Okay, so suppose if someone says, I don't know what they wanted to print, but if someone says we need basically a 24 months plan. Okay, if we need a 24 months plan, what will be the output? Okay, so for a 24 months plan, simply it was if you can see here, it's 15,000. Okay, it's 15,000 multiplied by 2. Okay, which is 30,000 rupees. Okay, so that thing we can print. I don't know what they wanted to print, but this kind of output we can give. Okay, so basically we can directly use the if else condition to solve this question. Let's solve this question. Very easy question. Okay, so again we will take the input of n, which is the total number of months. If the n is divisible by 12, which is modulus by 12 is equals to 0, we will print n divided by 12 multiply by 15. This will be the plan cost. Else if we will be using, if it is divisible by 9, we will be multiplying by 12,000. Otherwise we will be multiplying it with 7,000 or 5,000. Okay, depending upon what is the plan. Okay, else we will be printing the error if the plan cannot be formed. Okay, and I think this solution passed 7 by 7 test cases, or maybe 6 by 7 test cases. Okay, this solution passed these many tests. Even if the solution if the candidates are printing direct, like C out 6,000, C out 7,000 according to the plan. Okay, because I think out of 7 test cases, 6 test cases were like this only, in which you can directly print the amount also. There was no multiple. Okay, so it will just pass 6 out of 7 test cases. Okay, very simple, easy, if else based question. Next question which I wanted to discuss. Okay, so I hope question you guys already know. If you don't know, I will just explain you. There are multiple transitions given. Okay, we will be solving using map approach in this video. Suppose our transition says Anu, Ram, 200 and 1000. Okay, so there will be some transaction given in this format, in which the sender name is given here. So this is sender, this is receiver, this is the receiver name, this is the amount, and this is the time. Okay, we need to find out the fraud transaction. The fraud transactions are, if the transaction is same, so suppose again it is Anu, Ram, 2000, sorry, 200 and 1000. Both transactions are same, so this is a fraud transaction. Or the difference between the timestamp is less than 60 seconds. So suppose it is Anu, Ram, 200 and 1050. So difference between 1000 and 1050 is 50 seconds, right? So again, this is a fraud transaction. So we need to print out the fraud transactions. Okay. If the transaction is genuine, suppose what will be the genuine transaction? That will be, suppose Anu, Ram, suppose it is 200, but suppose it is 2000. So timestamp difference you can see here. Okay, so timestamp difference is a lot. It is not within 60. Okay, we need to only give the front transaction if the values of the transaction is same or the stamp is less than 60. Okay, so basically this is the question. Now see, for solving this question, our approach will be very simple. The output of the transactions are given like this. So suppose n transactions are given like this. Okay, or we need to print the fraud transactions. Suppose five transactions are given. Okay, and suppose the transaction is like, suppose the sender is A, the receiver is B, the amount is 200, and first timestamp is 1000. Second one is A, B, 200 and 1050. Third one is B, C, 100 and 2000. Okay, so these kind of transactions will be given here. Okay, first of all these transactions are given in string. So we need to take the input first. Okay, take the input first, and we need to store it in a proper data structure, right? So that we can store it in a map properly. Then we will solve this question. So let's start. First of all, we will be creating one structure. Okay, in that structure we will be storing the sender, receiver. See, if you want, you can eliminate the structure as well. You can directly solve store that in variables, and that variables you can use, but here I am using structure just for a better code quality. Okay, so two strings we are taking, sender and receiver, in which we will be storing the names, then amount and the time. Okay, then we are storing the total number of transaction. Here we are taking the input of the total number of transactions. Then we are creating one vector which will be storing the transactions. Okay, now the vector type is transaction. The vector type is transaction. Okay, and this transaction type will hold two strings. One is sender, one is receiver, two one double which is amount, and one long which is time. Okay, that we will be storing here. So now we will be running one loop. Okay, after running the loop, we will be reading the line. So string line we have created, get line we will be use. Okay, because it is in strings. Then we will be using the string stream. Okay, then after using the string stream we will be splitting it. Okay, then we will be storing basically t of I, sender, receiver, amount and time. Okay, all the four things. Okay, we are storing in transactions of ith index. So suppose in the 0th index, what will store here? A as a sender, B as receiver, 200 is amount, and 1000. Okay, that is stored like this. So in T of 0, this will be stored. In T of 1, the another transaction like A, B, 200 and 1050 will be stored. Okay, so this is our teeth basically. This is our t vector, which is individually storing all the structure. So you can say this is all the structure. So I can say these all are in the middle bracket, and there is a comma between these structures. Okay, so this kind of format is there. Okay, so we are storing this. Okay, so we are storing like this. Say this is our full array. The first structure is here, then comma, then second structure is here. So this is t of 0, then this is t of 1. Okay, this kind of structure we are storing in our complete array. Okay, then we are creating one map for basically storing it and optimizing the code. Okay, how will we using that map for storing this? So first of all, I am creating one map. The string will store the whole key. Okay, and the value will be storing the timestamp. How? See, suppose this is the transaction which is A, B and 200 as amount, and 1000 is timestamp. Okay, first we need to check if the transaction is same. So suppose if the transaction is same, that is completely fine. But the transaction, if the suppose a transaction is different, then we need to check the difference between the timestamps, right? We need to check the difference between the timestamps. So only the difference between the timestamps we will be needing, right? So we can store the timestamp as value, and we can store all these three parts, which is A, B, and 200, because we will be not needing this as key. So we will be storing in our map like this. So suppose the first record will be stored like this is the key, which is A pipe B pipe 200. This is the key, and the value which it will store is the timestamp, which is 1000. Second key will be suppose A pipe B pipe 200, and the timestamp is 1050. So in this structure, we will be storing our map. So the key will be sender pipe receiver pipe amount. Okay. So we will be running one loop. Okay. Here we are extracting. So we are forming the key. How we are forming the key? T of I dot sender plus pipe T of I dot receiver pipe plus two string whatever the amount is that, and in that key we are pushing. Okay, so in the map we are pushing what thing we are pushing? We are pushing the timestamp and the index, because index also we will be needing. Okay, if we want to print the transaction, that then we will be needing the index also. So we are pushing the transaction time and the index. For that we are creating the map like this. So the structure is string. This string will be holding the key, okay, the whole key, and we want to store the timestamp plus the index. So timestamp is in long, so we will be creating one vector which will be storing the pair of long comma int. This int will be storing the index. Okay, so this will be our code. Then this vector we will be creating which will be storing the fraud transactions, which transactions are fraud. Okay, then we will be running one loop on our map. Okay, one loop we will be running on our map, and we will be storing the timestamp and the index, whatever the index is. So suppose this is the first index, this is the second index, this is a vector, right? This is a vector. So basically the key is vector, right? So we are running the loop on the map, and we are storing the vector here, okay, of the loop. So it dot second, we are storing the loop here. Okay, don't worry about the syntax. If you know about the maps, definitely I think you guys know about the syntax. Okay, then we will be sorting our vector. Okay, so suppose, see how our map will be looking like. I'll just explain you. Suppose there are four transactions. Okay, A comma B comma 200 and 1000. Okay, A comma B comma 200 comma 1050. A comma B comma 200 comma 2000. Okay, then B comma C comma 200 comma 2500. How our map will be looking like? Okay, these are the transaction. First key will be, see, this is the key A pipe B pipe 200. Okay, and this key will be storing what? 1000 and the index like 1. Second, it will be storing, because key will be unique, right? So it will be storing 1050 comma 2. Third, it will be storing 2000 comma 3. Okay, with index it is storing the timestamp. Another key which is B comma C 200, it will be storing 2500. Okay, that's how our map will be looking like. Okay, so now we are sorting the timestamps, right? We are sorting the timestamps. Why we are sorting this vector? Because see, we want the difference should be between 60 seconds, right? The difference, if the difference is between 60 seconds, then definitely that is a fraud transaction. So we are sorting that. We are sorting the timestamps, right? Then we are running, we are initializing the value of j as 0. We are starting our loop. Okay, from index 0. We are running a loop on our timestamps. Okay, and we are checking if the value, okay, in the vector we are storing the timestamp, right? So we are checking if please listen carefully, if the timestamp is greater than 60. Okay, if the timestamp is greater than 60, then we are doing j plus plus. Why we are doing that? Okay, see, after sorting, suppose my j is pointing out here. Okay, I am on this index, right? If all the transactions who are coming into the next 60 seconds, I can ignore them, right? Because all those transactions will be fraud transactions, right? So suppose I am on 1000 timestamp. I can say any transaction that is genuine, okay? That transaction will be after 1060, right? Because 60 seconds gap should be there. Okay, that's why what we are doing, if the vec of I dot first minus vec of j dot first, matlab we are subtracting the difference and we are checking if it is greater than 60. Okay, then we are increasing our index. Otherwise, we will store all other transaction which is coming in between. Okay, all the in between transactions we will be storing that in as a fraud transaction. So in our fraud vector, we will be storing those transactions as fraud. Okay, and we will be making the boolean index as true. Okay, so this is the basic code which we are doing, and at last we will be printing all our fraud transactions. Now see, I will be giving you one summary like what we have done. Okay, what we have done, please listen the summary because it might get confusing because my previous solution was very easy. That's why I uploaded the previous solution, but some candidates are asking we want the map solution was little bit complicated. Okay, because here we are using one additional data structure for optimizing the code. Okay, so now listen carefully what we are doing. Basically, suppose in our map this is the key which is a b 200. Okay, then it is storing suppose 1000, 1000, 40, 1050 and 2000. Okay, suppose I am starting from here, so my j index will point out here which is 0th index. Okay, so what I will be doing here is I will be looping out from the next index, and what I will be seeing if the difference is greater than 60. Okay, so if I will check if the difference is greater than 60, so is the difference greater than 60? No, it is 40. Okay, so I will go on the another index though, so my I will increase, right? My I will increase to this index, then this index. Now I will again check if the difference is greater than 60. No, it is not greater than 60. Again my I will increase to this point. Okay, now when I will reach to this point, I will see the difference is 1000, that is greater than 60. Okay, now what I will do is I will do j plus plus. Okay, so my transaction from here it will move out to here. Okay, from my transaction here I will move out here. Okay, so I will move out to next index. Okay, so this is the basic thing which we are doing. Okay, we are ignoring all the transaction which are coming in between. Okay, which are coming in between, we are ignoring all the transactions. Okay, and that's how all our fraud transaction we are storing. If any transaction is fraud, that we will be storing. Okay, even if the transaction is same, it will be storing after that. Okay, so all the transaction which is coming in the range of 60, we are ignoring that. Okay, and we are storing that in our fraud array. Okay, fraud boolean array. I hope this is clear. If it is not clear, you can rewatch the video or you can check my previous solution. Okay, so then it will clear. It will make more sense. Okay, or you can rewatch the video because it was little complicated to explain this. Okay, if I will write down the code, it was easy, but to explaining it was little complicated. I tried my best. I hope you guys got it. Thank you so much for watching.